Today is my 74th birthday. Not the English birthday, but my Jewish birthday. And I want to wish all who hear my message that you should have a wonderful, successful, healthy year. And that we should get rid of, bypass, overcome all of the difficulties of this horrible pandemic. The results are not just tragic, but destroying the fiber of our community, as is the results of a horrific crime perpetrated by someone who's supposed to support the law, which is a police officer. But this is where I get in trouble with the PC crowd. Because of my position, one of you well-meaning people have frozen my Facebook account because supposedly I'm a neo-Nazi in your eyes. I can't get on Facebook, nor can I use my Gmail because I've been labeled inappropriate by you. And I know who you are. But I'm not PC and I'm not for sale. Never was and never will be. The horrific crime by a policeman indicates the activity of one policeman. We haven't had a pattern of people being killed by police wantonly. Two of the famous cases that triggered Black Lives Matter were not the fault of the people who did the killing. People investigated the Trayvon Martin case, the case in Missouri with the policeman. In those cases, not saying it was called for, but the overwhelming evidence indicates that it was done in self-defense. Eric Garner's case is totally different, as is the case of the last outrage. But this is not a pattern of police brutality all over the country. It's just the opposite. Because it's so rare, that's why it happens only once every couple of years. There is no nascent, basic racism in most people. There are cruel people who are evil. They may be racist, but it's not indicative of the police systems. The police have become much, much more tolerant. And in fact, the facts are that if you're a white person arrested, you're more likely to be killed by a cop than if you are an African American person. That's just the facts. But there's so many more whites. The numbers have to reflect the crimes, and this is just a canard. People who are poor commit more of the crimes. Black community, unfortunately, is poor. 51% of the murders in the country are committed by people of African American descent. Just those are the figures. So if half of the arrests made are of African Americans, you would expect half of the people killed by cops would be African Americans. That's not the case, though. Whites are killed twice as often as are blacks, and since they're an even smaller minority of the murderers and the criminals that they pick up, you're more likely to be killed if you're a white person committing a crime than if you are a black person committing a crime. This is the facts, but facts don't matter to people who want to be angry and want to destroy the fabric of the community. I understand peaceful outrage. When the Obama administration, and I mean the Obama administration, helped in the arrest of Sholem Rubashkin. It was uncalled for. The reason why he was arrested and given 27 years, what they called bank fraud, which most of the time would be a slap on the wrist. He was paying the interest, he was making the payments on it. He had to declare bankruptcy because the federal government did not allow him to sell his business. They frightened people from buying the business. The federal government was complicit in destroying a $100 million business that sold for 10 cents on the dollar because they wanted to bankrupt the Rubashkin family. And what was their crime? The crime wasn't illegal aliens. They had some illegal aliens perhaps, but every one of them happened to be documented. They had documents. And they don't have to, and in fact are not allowed to, check the documents for illegal aliens if they have documents. Strange way, strange laws you got. Rubashkin was arrested not because of illegal aliens. Rubashkin was arrested because he was a union buster. He did not give in to people trying to unionize his plant. And the reason was, couldn't do business based upon the rules and the costs of the union. To say, well, he didn't treat his people properly. He treated them fairly well. They were able to buy homes in the area. They were able to have their children educated. They had health insurance. He treated them quite well. He didn't treat them fabulously well, but he treated them very well because these were his workers. And all of his profits, he plowed back into his business. He wasn't living high in the hog. But he was a rich guy, so he's a rich guy. Therefore what? A rich guy that employed almost 1,000 people, that caused benefits for an entire community that basically was dead, was dying, and they were just jealous of him and try to get negative information about him and his family. That's what happened. Where was the outrage in the community as to what happened to him? Then there were people who demonstrated, but not the African American community en masse or the Hispanic community. Most of the workers for him were Hispanic descent, hundreds of them, and they were brutally handled by the feds. It's a horrific crime against humanity what they did. Eventually, probably the Rubashkins will take counsel and they'll sue the federal government and the I don't know if they can because they're immune, but the judge who was presided over it had some of the most despicable decisions one could imagine. There was no destroying of neighborhoods, not even the neighborhood of the city where Rubashkin had his plant. There were no mass actions of public display of displeasure and destruction. No windows were shattered as a result of that. People came in the hundreds and prayed. But here, all of a sudden at night, burning, looting, killing. 14 African Americans died in these last few days of rioting. Police officers were killed. A retired African American former captain was killed trying to protect the pawn shop that he worked for. And nobody cares about those things. Oh, this horrible. What do you want? We want a change in defund the police. Of course, that's, you know what it means to defund the police? Defunding the police means anarchy and the destruction of private property. That's what it means. And they've said it. The Minnesota City Council said it. The head of the Minnesota City Council says that calling 911 when somebody's breaking into your house is white privilege. How could that be white privilege? You know why it is? Because that woman doesn't believe that you should have more than anyone else. Everybody should have equal, and then nobody would have the motive to steal. Which, of course, isn't true. A lot of stealing going on in Russia, despite the fact that everybody supposedly had everything else. This woman, this head of the city council, wants to get rid of private property. And that's what she calls white privilege. So let me tell you something. African Americans buy houses too. And they get older. And they can be praised of people who attack them because they live in a nice house and drive a nice car. It's got nothing to do with white privilege. It has to do with a person working hard and being able in the course of time to afford a better house and drive a better automobile. And not everybody's going to be the same. There are entrepreneurs who take risks. Because they take risks, the rewards are greater. They will make more than heart surgeons or brain surgeons because they take risks in business. And as a result of that, they grow wealthy. Nobody forces people to buy their stuff. It's not privilege, my friend. It's hard work, dedication, brains, communication, everything, devotion to service. Oprah Winfrey is a billionaire. I will never be a billionaire. Hope I might. I will never be as wealthy as Oprah Winfrey. Where's my white privilege? The answer is, I haven't done what she's done. I don't have her talent. I love playing basketball. Even when I was younger, I loved playing basketball. But I'm 5'9.5", maybe 5'8" today at age 74. I could never play in the, not only National Basketball Association, I couldn't play for college teams either. Most of the people who play basketball for money are African Americans. And they're good, and I enjoy watching them. Is that a black privilege? No. They have to work hard at what they do, and they're good at what they do. And I love watching them for what they do. And despite my differences with him politically, LeBron James is my favorite player ever. I like him better than Larry Bird, because Larry Bird was a great player. And so is Hakeem Olajuwon. And so is Dwayne Wade. And so is Isaiah Thomas. And my favorite player of all, Magic Johnson. LeBron's better than all of them. But I have differences with him. But I enjoy watching him. I ask you the question, is that black privilege? The answer is no. The man works 365 days a year to make sure that he does wonderful things on that court that other people can't do at his age or at his size. He's a student of the game. He's going to be a great coach one day. Maybe the best coach ever. All of this is stupid if it wasn't tragic. You don't let cities get burned up unless you ideologically don't care about private property. In Portland and in Seattle and in Los Angeles, the mayors are not just Democrats. They're leftists. De Blasio's a leftist. He's a leftist, socialist, communist. He does not believe in private property, and that's why he allowed it to be looted. It's tragic, but that's the truth. And the Black Lives Matter are not friends of the Jewish community, or are they friends of any community except for themselves. When people try to say all lives matter, they were incensed. Black lives do matter, but so do yellow lives, so do red lives, so do white lives. If they were purple people, purple lives, and if they're green people, green lives. Human beings matter. That's what matters. We are all children of God, all descended from Adam and Eve. We all believe in that, in this country anyway. I'm just not PC. I will not, nor will I encourage, nor will I accept that people will march with Black Lives Matter, because they are pro-BDS, anti-Israel, anti-white. How do I know this? Just look at their placards. They say it. They're not going to say it to your face if they need your money. But they say it. They've publicized horrific things. They put signs in Flatbush trying to scare people away. One of their leaders threatened to burn down the Diamond District unless they gave him protection money. Thankfully, he said it on television, so he got arrested. Why am I saying this? Stop flagging me as a racist or a neo-Nazi, because I'm not, obviously. I am one of the most liberal rabbis, Orthodox rabbis in the community. But I hate destruction. And I also hate socialism, because my parents suffered under that system. We know what it is. You think you know what it is. You don't know. It is tyrannical, abusive, destructive, and the cause of the death of at least 100 million people in the last 80 years. Think about that.